The most recent Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel Banlist changed Kashtira. How does it work now? Hello guys and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we are talking about Kashtira, and more specifically, Zoodiac Kashtira. Now with the introduction of the new banlist, which hasn't quite hit as the recording of this video, Kashtira has changed quite a bit. Now in the OCG, Fenrir is banned, but at least in Master Duel we have it at 1. Now with that being said, Birth is also at 1, so, you know, a little bit of give and take. Now, Kashtira is still pretty decent as an engine. Having access to 3 Unicorn along with Birth, Theosis, and even that 1 Fenrir does add a lot of power to this deck. And it means that there are a lot of power cards that just immediately get to hit the field and cause a lot of issues for the opponent. So, what are we going to pair this with but more cards that do similar things? Except they take up the normal summon. That being the Zoodiacs. If you don't know, the Zoodiacs basically have 2 functions. 1, Trident Pass, which already is very powerful, and 2, Zeus. Or at least they did. However, with the introduction of the previous ban list, giving them a 3rd option in being able to go into Utopic Draco, this means that both the Zoodiacs as well as the Kashtiras pair very well together, meaning 1 normal summon as well as the Kashtira engine, both being Xyz, both being able to access Zeus, both being able to play a myriad of hand traps and then still be able to play the full engine because it's a 1-card engine. These 2 pair very well together. Now, I've already explored this deck, but I'm going to explore it again, basically post-ban list. So, here's the list. Not much has changed since the previous list. The only thing that's changed, genuinely, the only thing that has changed, I took out a Fenrir, and I added in a Ram. That's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's all that's changed. I didn't change the hand trap count. I didn't change anything. Just 1 engine piece for another. That's it. And let me tell you, this deck is fantastic at going second because that's literally all of the replays that I got is just going second. Honestly, it might be better at going second just because of the insane amount of hand traps you're able to play, while also being able to just immediately threaten the opponent's board with either a normal summon or a special summon of your Kashtira monsters. So, real quick for the card by card, starting off with the hand traps, we're playing many of them. 2 Droll and Lockbird, 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Infip, 2 Dimension Shifter, and a Nibiru. That's right, all hand traps. That's quite a lot. I believe it's like 14 hand traps. Pretty good, right? Now, on top of that, we are also playing things like 2 Pot of Desires and 2 Called By to help us with our non-engine, mostly to help with Pot of Desires to see those extra cards that are pretty powerful. So there you go. As for the rest of the cards, the Kashtira engine is 1 Rise Heart, 1 Fenrir, because it's newly limited, 1 Birth, again, newly limited, 1 Theosis, and then the triple Unicorn. Unicorn's search targets being Birth and Theosis. Now, notably, in this deck, as you can tell by the extra deck, we do not care about the Xyz lock, because both Rise Heart and Theosis lock us into Xyz summoning only, and we don't really care because all of the Zoodiacs only Xyz summon. Now, you could argue, oh, maybe you should be playing the Link monster that requires you to play Xyz. What is he? What's his name? Yeah, Mega Clubs. You could make that argument. I don't really care. I feel like having this extra deck in particular, maybe you take out Vespinato and play this one instead. Kind of up to you. Realistically, I don't think it's that big of a deal whether you play it or you don't. It's kind of up to you. It comes up occasionally, but not all too often. Anyway, so let's talk about the Zoodiacs. We're playing lots of Zoodiac engine, which is kind of surprising, but we're playing the 1 Rapier, which is a Utopic Draco on its own. If you have Rapier as your normal summon, or if you have Tenki to search out the Rapier, it's Utopic on its own. We're playing 1 Bunny Blast. We're also playing 2 Whiptail, 2 Thoroughblade, and 2 Ram. Ram is very important, and we'll get into that in a second. Then we're playing, of course, the triple Tenki and the triple Barrage. Forgot to mention, we're also running Wraith Soth, obviously. And that's the 40 cards. As for the extra deck, 1 Utopic Future, as well as Utopic Draco Future, 2 apiece of Tiger Mortar Trident, and then we're playing 1 Vorbo and 1 Hammer Kong as just Zeus material. That's it. These 2 are only here for Zeus, more or less. And then triple Chakanine. It comes up quite often that I do want 3 Chakanine, so I'm playing 3. We're also playing 1 Vespinato for piercing battle damage and for a few other things, but it's mostly just here to be like another guy to go into on top of Zeus, kind of. the one Shangri-Ira, and the one Arise Heart. And then, of course, double Azayas. So, let's hop into the replays and show you how this deck performs. Alright, so as I mentioned, all 4 of my replays are me going second, and these first 2 are going to really showcase the power of this deck, specifically going second. So first off, here we are playing against Labyrinth. I have Infip and Ash. Obviously, I'm going to Imperm the Ariana, and then save the Ash for the Welcome Labyrinth, which is likely to be there. We're going to start with the tanky, grab up the Thoroughblade. Since we have Ram in hand, we're going to pitch the Ram because we do want it in Grave. We end up drawing Barrage, which is fantastic for us. So we're going to Ash, obviously, the Big Welcome, and then out comes Compulse. Don't know why we're playing Compulse, but there you go. They're going to Compulse my Thoroughblade, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Whatever, not really that big of a deal, because again, we drew into Barrage. That's pretty lucky for us, but had we drawn into a Kashtira monster, or something along those lines, that would have also worked. My opponent goes for the Maxi here, obviously, because we have the Barrage. Luckily, they don't have Ash. If they had Ash, that would have been a bit more problematic, but luckily, we still have the Called By, so there's that. Anyway, so we're going to pop our own Tenki in order to go for the Barrage here. Barrage into Whiptail, Whiptail into Hammer Kong, and then the reason I'm doing this instead of going for like just immediately into Chakanine, which I would normally do if I were to start with the Rapier, is because I want to be able to have some stats on my Igzy monster. So we're going to go for the Chakanine. Chakanine is going to bring back the Ram, and then into the Trident. Trident's now going to activate its effect in order to pop the Ram, and Ram effect will activate special summoning back the Chakanine. We're going to use both of those in order to go into our Utopic, and then right into our Utopic Draco future. Here we can just walk over this guy and just pass the turn, hoping that we have an ability to kind of like stop them or play the game. To be fair, we have Thoroughblade on the follow-up with the Chakanine Trident and what have you. We even can go into the Borbo to go into a double Azayas. So it's still pretty good. My opponent reveals Nadir Servant here, sending the Garura and grabbing up the Ecclesia. They draw into Imperm, I guess, and just immediately Imperm. Well done, you know. Sometimes you just have it. Ecclesia grab Dogmatica Maximus. They're going to activate the Maximus here. Banishing in order to special summon the Maximus. Maximus effect, they're going to send it to they send both of the fossils, which is kind of funny. Fossil Warrior as well as a Fossil Machine. So, very funny. But yeah, they get to deal with both my back row and my Utopic since it's negated. Normally this can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, so it's a pretty good wall, but alas, this time they had it. I sent a Trident and a Chakanine because those were what I had left, so there you go. Anyway, they have one set card. Hopefully we can play through it. We're going to go for the Thoroughblade, discarding our monster, and then out comes IDP. Now, we drew into Fenrir, so sometimes you are just better than your opponents. It really is that simple. They banished one of my Tridents, but that's not really that big of a deal, because guess what? We have the Theosis anyway. We're going to go for the Rise Heart here. We're going to activate the effect of the Rise Heart. We're going to banish the Unicorn, banishing 3 of their cards. And then we're going to go for the Theosis here, to which they do have the Ash. So I guess they drew into the Ash, not the Imperm. But, hey, there you go. Not really that big of a deal, because Fenrir is now going to banish, I believe, the Maximus. No, we banished the Ecclesia face down. Not really that big of a deal. Which one we banish? Either way, we get to walk over the field and deal a bunch of damage. And then we're just going to go into our Shangri-Ira. We're only really grabbing Unicorn here, but they're on one card. Hopefully they whiff a draw, and we're able to win the game. And it looks like that's what happens. And they just concede there. So, yeah, pretty good. And, yikes, that was close. Alright, so here we are once again going second, and these 2 hand traps are not going to do a whole lot against Sky Striker. So my opponent is going to immediately just go into Shizuku, activate the Mecha Module, and pass. Now, notably, what this actually does is it allows them to go for the Widow Anchor, and then activate the Widow Anchor, targeting their own card, negating it, and then the Mecha Module is going to put it back onto the field. So, I could have Ashed that. I'm like, I'd rather not. I'd rather save the Ash for something like an Engage, or a Maxi, or something like that. And then I draw the second Ash, and I was like, well, I didn't need to anyway. Anyway, we're going to grab up the Rapier here, and we're going to special summon out Unicorn. Unicorn is going to be negated, obviously, and not really a whole lot that I can do there. But this is pretty good, because now Rapier is free to be normal summoned. So let's see what we can accomplish here. We're going to normal summon the Wrap here. We're going to activate the effect. We're going to send the Ram, and out we go into the Chakanine. Activate the Chakanine effect. We are going to detach in order to bring back our Ram, to the which we get Ghost Spelled. Okay, not really a whole lot we can do about that. That's fine. We're going to make a slightly different play, but it's still going to be pretty strong. We're going to go for the Trident here. We're going to activate the Trident. We're going to pop the Mecha Module, just so that they can't have it. It does put a spell into the grave. Not really that big of a deal. Out comes Borbo. We're going to go to the normal summon, and I'm almost certain that this is like Imperm, or... It's like gotta be Imperm, right? It could be a second Widow Anchor, but I'm almost certain it's Imperm. Anyway, so we're going to go for the Hammer Kong here. We're going to then go into the Tiger Mortar, and then last, we are going to go into Zeus. And the reason we're doing this is because it means that Ray... Sure, it could tag out, but the Ray can't come back this turn. It's a hard once per turn, so if I go for the Zeus, and luckily I have 4 materials, because I had just enough left to go for the format Zeus, I can play through the Imperm, and I can wipe the board, preventing Ray from doing really anything. Now, had they chained Ray, and then I chain Zeus to it, the board would wipe, and then their card would hit the field, because this tributes for cost, I believe. Yeah, tribute the card, and then special. So basically, their card would be in the grave, and then the monster would be on the field after the negate. But that's kind of hard to do, and I don't. It's kind of a mind game. You would have to like Imperm. I would activate my effect. You would chain the Ray, and then I could just chain again. So me having 2 activations of Zeus is kind of messing with it. So you know, but anyway. Anyway, out comes the Imperm. I'm gonna activate the Zeus again. I definitely think that they could have had a body on field, but they didn't. They chose not to, so happy day. Anyway, we're gonna just end the turn. We have 2 Ashes and a Droll, which is not really doing anything, but out comes the Hornet Drones, and I'm like, cool, yeah, can't really do anything about this. Literally, I think the only card I can hit at this point with Ash is the Engage that they just sent to the grave. So they're going to go for the Kagari. They're going to activate the effect of the Kagari, grab up the Engage. They're going to activate the Engage. I'm just going to negate that. They don't have a Called By. Fantastic. Out into Shizuku. Not really anything I do about that. Sure, Shizuku gets the free search. They search out the Shark Cannon, and they steal my Unicorn. Now, this is actually a pretty smart play from them, because if I actually activate any effect, the Unicorn is going to rip from my extra deck quite a few things that could be dangerous. Things like Utopic Draco, the Trident, the Tiger Mortar. Almost any of those are pretty detrimental to me. So there's that. And then I draw the 3rd Ash, because of course. So I'm just immediately going to go to the battle phase. I still have the Zeus big enough to walk over the Unicorn. So there's that. Now we can do the whole play. Excuse me, sorry. Still sick, still recovering. Anyway, now we can do the whole Zoodiac line. And so we're going to go for the Chakanine, bring back Ram, get popped by Trident, Ram, activate its effect, bring back another Trident, because it's funny. Trident's at 2. Why is Trident at 2? Don't know. Anyway, we're now going to go into the Utopic Future, and then we're going to go for the Utopic Draco Future. And then at this point, we can actually just pass the turn. If they go into anything, if they activate any effect, we just steal the monster, and the Ray is not going to trigger. I actually was not entirely certain that that would work. I was like, how exactly is Ray worded? Ray is specifically worded that if it leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, Utopic does not make it leave the field. You steal the monster. So yeah, they're going to activate the Hayate. I'm just going to be like, no, I'm just going to take that, thanks. So I'm going to steal and just kind of go from there. I know Hornet Drones is in the grave, so I'm not really worried about that. But then they have Jamming Waves, which is crazy. And what they do, which is kind of interesting, is they decided to not pop their own Hayate. I don't know if Hayate would have triggered there the Ray. I'm not entirely sure. It does say opponent's card effect, but I'm still not entirely sure. But they popped the Zeus, so sure, why not? Luckily, we have the Ash here, so again, the game is already over. We just Ash again. The Area 0 dies. I mean, to be fair, I don't really have lethal on board, but with another Ash Blossom, with the negate and steal, it's pretty much sealed and in the bag. So, good game. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, this game was not the greatest, but I still wanted to show it to you, mostly because it's just another game to show you. And it kind of shows you why this deck in particular is so good at going second. So my opponent is playing 60 card Branded, and they immediately go for the Magnemite off of Lubellion, and yeah, Maxi. You know and love it. I draw on 2 Desires, which is kind of funny, and my opponent goes and sets Grass, which I'm like, okay, I can punish that with Zeus super easily. I know they grab up the Branded Fusion. I'm like, cool, fantastic. I have an infit for the card that you summon off of the Branded Fusion, and they grab Saronir. And I'm like, okay, Saronir doesn't do anything against my deck because it's all Earths and, like, Wind. And I draw Nibiru for turn, which is very funny. Anyway, so we're going to go for Desire, banish a whole bunch of cards. None of it really matters because I draw Ram. Fantastic. So we're going to go for the Fenrir, grab up the Rise Heart, to which my opponent will go for the Maxi, and sometimes you are just the better player, and you draw the Called By. At this point, the game is over, and my opponent just disconnects, basically. I think I get, like, 1 or 2 more actions. I think I go Thoroughblade here. We go for the Fenrir, banishing the Magnemite. Normal summon the Thoroughblade, activate the effect, pitching the Ram, drawing another Desires, and then my opponent just disconnects. I don't know. They probably could have done stuff. If I do go for the Zeus there, I do have to get rid of my own Fenrir, and I probably should have searched, like, Unicorn instead of searching the Arise Heart, yada yada. There's definitely things that I could have done better there. But in all honesty, it was too funny not to. So, good game. Alright, and here's the last one, once again going second, and once again with 2 hand traps in hand. It's just par for the course. My opponent's going to start by adding a warrior monster, to which they add Photon Thrasher. I have so many... Oh, it's Stellar Knight. Okay, okay. I have no idea what this deck does. So, I'm just going to, like, hold these. I'm not going to hit the Onuku. This one seems like a new one, so I'm going to ash that one. I don't know. Adding a spell trap seems like something I don't want you to do. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. They're going to go for the Xyz summon here, and they're going to go for... hey, this guy's got an animation. I'm going to imperm it, right? Now, they don't activate the on-summon effect, which is interesting. They just activate the banish effect. So they banish a Stellar Knight from their hand or deck, detach a material, and then it becomes the banished monster's effect, which is this guy, which adds a Constellar monster from deck to hand. And I'm like, I'm just going to imperm this. I don't know what you do, but I'm going to imperm that. That seems like a good option. To be fair, the rest of my hand isn't all that great. We do have Ram, which is also still more or less full combo because we have Trident. It's fine. We can maybe do something off of this, but it's not really the greatest of hands. It's kind of just like Zeus. Anyway, my opponent is going to go for the Ptolemaeus. I don't know what this would end on. I think it's Infinity. I think that's what it goes for. But I draw a Unicorn, so, you know, sometimes you're just better. Yep, my opponent just concedes. I don't know what their deck does. Apparently I stopped them. So, yeah, 2 hand traps and a dream. And we're back with the deck, and in all honesty, I think this is a very underrated deck. Probably the most underrated. I feel like people really do underestimate how good Zoodiac is, because it hasn't really been meta in either the TCG or the OCG, but the main reason for that is because, like, Dryden's banned in both of those. We have access to Dryden in both the TCG and in the... We have access in Master Duel to Dryden, which is not available in either the OCG or the TCG. So yeah, of course Zoodiac's not very good. They're missing one of their big boss monsters. And so yeah, I do really think that this deck is a pretty good deck. Do I think it's the best deck? No. Do I think it's very strong? Yes. And do I think it's the best version of Kashtira post-Banlist? Absolutely. I thought it was the best version pre-Banlist, and nobody was really playing it. Why? Yeah, I don't know. High roll. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily do as strong of end boards as what regular Kashtira was able to do prior to the Banlist, being able to end on things like Birth with Fenrir and Unicorn and Riseheart and Shangri-Ira and all of that jazz. Sure, that's great and all, but it dies to so much, and it very is just high roll. Whereas the Zoodiac build and the Zoodiac Kashtira build in particular allows you to more easily stop your opponent. It plays going second a lot better than I think even Kashtira did, and it's a lot more consistent. Basically, you have a whole bunch of one-card combos that immediately get you into a threatening position, while also having access to a myriad of other non-engine to slow your opponent down or to prevent them from getting to those big endboards. Now, granted, if you don't end up seeing those hand traps that actually do something against your opponent, it tends to be pretty lackluster. And I will agree with that. But what's the likelihood of that? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.